On this episode of Narcissist Apocalypse, we talk with an abuse survivor named Fatema. And Fatema was in a toxic relationship with a psychologically abusive partner. It's a story of proving yourself, trauma bonds, codependency, and getting back to the old you. Welcome to Narcissist Apocalypse, everyone. This is a podcast that gives a voice to survivors of toxic relationships. I am Brandon Chadwick, but my friends call me Chad, and thanks for tuning into this episode. So what is a narcissist, you may ask? Well, for the purposes of this podcast, we refer to a narcissist as anyone who has displayed a pattern of behavior that shows a limited capacity to appreciate others' perspectives. It is that simple. And now, before we get to our episode with Fatema, I just first want to thank everyone in the Narcissist Apocalypse community for listening to the show and sharing your thoughts by email, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, a reminder, if you have not left us a review on whatever podcast service you use, Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, CastBox, etc., please leave us a 5-star written review as it helps out the show a lot when it comes to rankings. Now, if you've not been to our website, narcissistapocalypse.com recently, please do go there if you want to be part of our show. At the top of the page, you'll be able to find a button that says guest form. You click that button, you fill out that form, and away we will go. But another way to be on our show is to be part of our Letters to My Narcissist compilation episode, where you read a letter by sending a voicemail to us on our website at narcissistapocalypse.com. There's a button on the side of the page that says send voicemail. Click that button once. It records up to 5 minutes. Twice, records up to 10 minutes. Click it as many times as you need to record your letter. If you do not want to record your letter yourself and want us, myself, or my old pal Melissa to read it for you, please do send an email to narcissistapocalypse@gmail.com. And in the subject line, please write letters to my narcissist. Other things on our site, we are now offering high conflict parenting courses that can be found at narcissistapocalypse.com/courses. Yes, we have now partnered with Online Parenting, and many of the courses we are offering were created by Bill Eddy. And if you listened to our episode last year with a divorce lawyer named Helen, you'll know that Bill Eddy is an expert in dealing with these individuals in court, and now he's helped create many parenting courses to help you through divorce and to help support your children too. These courses are the most widely recognized courses by family courts across the country. So if you want to support the show and are looking for guidance, please do go to narcissistapocalypse.com/courses. And what else do we have for you here? We are going to discuss our Patreon, everyone. Another way to support our show is by being a patron of our Patreon. You get episodes that never made it to air, follow-up episodes with former guests. Like last week, we had one with Liza, and it's an interesting follow-up to that story as well. So go and listen to that. Plus, we have on there virtual support groups every Wednesday and Saturday. A big shout out to everyone who's in the support group on Saturday. It was a good time. We had 2 new people on there on Saturday. Hopefully we helped them out. It was a really inviting crew. And, if you want some extra support, join our Patreon. You become part of our support groups on there. That's at patreon.com/narcissistapocalypse. And last thing, here in my notes, someone in our Patreon group, on our virtual group on Saturday, told us about a study that is being done by New York University about psychological abuse, and they're looking for people that have been in these situations and have been victims of it and are now survivors of it, and they want to know about personality traits and such things. So we're going to leave a link in the show notes for you to go and be a part of this study if you want to be part of the study. I'm having a tough time getting my words out properly. Anyway, that's all for that. I'll leave that in the show notes. And now, without further ado, here is my interview podcast with Fatema. Welcome to Narcissist Apocalypse, everyone. With me today, I have Fatema. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for the invite.
Oh, you're welcome for the invite. How was my Spanish accent on that one? On a scale of 1 to 10.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. I'm not, I'm not great at any sort of accent, but anyway, thank you for being here with me today. Unfortunately, you are here with me today. You have a really interesting story to tell. It's going to help a lot of people. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. And without further ado, Fatema, the floor is now yours.
Well, thank you so much. And I guess I'll start like most of your previous guests start with my story is that I grew up in a very loving household, based on extremely hard work. My father, there's one thing I can summarize about him. He's been a wonderful father. He treats his daughters like princesses, always. And he literally, he gets up and works, comes home late, and eats and goes to sleep. So I had that growing up. I got the chance to go to, best schools, best sports. I was competitive, did competitive sports, was ranked probably top 10 in the country for the sport that I did. So I've always had a pretty good, I had a pretty good childhood. There was a lot expected of me, but other than that, it was loving, always loving. I got married to a very nice man. And after years of a couple years of being married, it didn't work out. He was an excellent human being. He cooked and he cleaned. It was just that I needed stability, and I just didn't see him having the same goals as I did, or the same drive, right? So, and I say this because it has a lot to do with how I met my narc. So I separate after, a couple years of marriage. And I guess I skipped over that. I came to the town that I'm at for school. And then after I graduated from college, I got a job at my dream company. I've always been very focused. So I came to this town because I knew where I wanted to work, and I got there and I worked for the best unit of that, that company. So, that's who I am. I've always, again, tried my best. So anyway, by then I'm working at my dream job, but I'm working a lot. I'm, holding on, financially holding on to paying for everything in my family. So we divorce, we separate. Right around that time, I meet a young guy, 10 years younger than me, actually 11 years younger than me. Random, outside of my house, I'm with my son. My son by then is, I'm actually teaching him how to ride his bicycle, so I'm outside. And this young guy comes over and talks to me. And nothing more. When I met him, I even, I told my friends, I had just separated. I had come from this, marriage where I was so responsible, and I was finally, able to be independent and free. And this guy was very, I didn't even think he was that handsome, but he is handsome. He was just very caring. So he would text me, good morning, love, good evening. I had just met this guy. He was my neighbor, so he lives in the building next to me. And it went on, and lots of texts. And maybe 3 months later, after I went out with friends, one night, he texted me, and I thought, I had drank. Not a lot, but just enough to feel a little brave. And I think I told him, "Oh, are you home?" And he said yes. So I went to his house, and it was literally, I walk in, and we had sex, and I left. And, it was very unlike me, but it was, it just felt fun, and I could do this, and this guy's young, and it was just fun, nothing more than that. And everyone, all of my friends thought, oh, she's just having fun. No one was worried. This went on for, I would say, 2 years. And, at that time, I did an MBA somewhere along, maybe like a year after I divorced, separated. I did an MBA at a top school while working, while having a son. And this guy was kind of like always around. If I needed to, relax, I'd go over to his house, and we'd talk and have sex. Sometimes he started to help me a lot in my house. Like, oh, I need something fixed. He's super handy. So I started to depend on him for a lot of like little man things around the house. So this is maybe 2-3 years later of this friendship something.
So is it fair to say that this started off as a friends with benefits type relationship?
Yes.
Okay.
He was 25. He was still finishing college. He didn't have a job, so there was no future for me there. I have a son. I'm very, career focused. So for me, there was no way I would get attached to this guy. So somewhere along there, I finished the MBA, and he helped me move. He helped me move something. I had moved apartments, so I was no longer next to him. And he helped me move. And after that, don't ask me why. He told me something like, "But you would never date me, really date me." And I said, "No, I would." And that was it.
So before you get to the dating part, can I just ask, so within that time, because we're talking about 2 years here, you have 2 years here of, no red flags. Who knows if you're even looking, or like that even bothers you at that point, because you have a certain type of relationship in your mind. And in those 2 years, he has no rage problems, nothing where that could pop up for you to say, I don't like this guy. So that's 2 years of knowing him and in a way feeling him out. So at this point, before you officially start dating him, you have zero reason to think that there is anything wrong with him.
None.
Yeah.
So I think I like his attentiveness. I like that, I was coming from a marriage of a guy who, I wasn't in my head manly enough, right? And this guy fixes things around my house. Is always, ready for me. He would make me feel the prettiest woman in the world. Every time he would see me, he'd comment on how successful I was, and how, as soon as he saw me, he felt aroused and wanted to have sex with me. So, I felt so alive. And he seemed so nice that I thought, why can't I date, I'm a successful woman. Like, I don't need a man to support me per se. So why not? I like him. And that was it. I didn't think more of it. And I want to say that prior to him and my ex-husband, I had always dated very successful men who had it together, who were kind of type A. So this guy was like refreshing. He was young and outgoing, and he was so different. So I started dating him, and it's right away the red flags start. Now I see them. But back then, I was so happy to be around him. I mean, I remember just sitting next to him would make me feel so happy. with the little things. For example, the first official red flag was when we were going to there was an international film festival, and he was mad at me because I wasn't concerned that he was hungry, but of course it didn't matter because what mattered was that we had to go see this movie. And I thought, no, there's a little restaurant next to the theater where you can have a sandwich. But then he was mad because there was not enough time, and of course it was all about me, and I'm like, this is weird. Like, I'm such a nice, I'm a nice person. Like, if someone's hungry, I would rather the person eat, and I'll just miss my movie. Like, it's okay. So I was so confused. Like, why is he saying this? So that, I think, to me, was the first flag. He then told me he had anxiety, and then I think I started to realize, like, anything that wasn't what he wanted to do would kind of give him anxiety. Well, now I just think it's one of, like, the narcissistic traits. Back then, I was like, oh, okay, he gets anxiety. If I had a work event, he would, like, not answer he would, like, leave me by myself and not show up, and then claim he fell asleep. So there was a lot of these little, like, red flags that at the time I thought, oh, okay, it's like his anxiety kicking in, right? What else? I couldn't sleep at his house because anxiety would kick in. So he couldn't. If I slept at his house in his bed, he couldn't sleep. So because we were neighbors, I would always, even dating, I would always have to go out to my house like at 12:30. He would walk me, thank God. But so I was, it started. There was little things that just felt so weird. And I guess this continued, my happiness and I was doing a lot of energy. It was so much fun, compared to my ex-husband. This guy was always coming up with, like, ideas. Let's go here. Let's go to this event. Let's go to the beach. So I was in this world where, just always doing something. So, again, it was fun. The red flags were there. I did not consider them red flags back then.
So
things are big.
Sorry, before I guess you even get to devaluation, in the first stage, I guess is the love bombing or the trust building pretty much done based upon the first 2 years? Is there a moment where you're, like, hooked in for good, or does that happen at, like, while devaluation is going on?
I think I'm so hooked. I think that the devaluation was such little sprinkles that I didn't realize it. It wasn't really, I had, like I said, I had dated really, type A kind of guys who, in retrospect, weren't that nice. So for me, I don't want to say it was normal, but it was like little sprinkles of his opinion. It was weird. But I was still very.
Sorry, but to summarize would be, he is a take charge kind of guy. He's manly. These are things that you weren't getting before. He's caring, or at least he's showing that he is caring. And what else do I have here in my notes? You're used to him already, and the feeling you're getting from him is you're allowed to be independent, free, and fun with him. And it was good sex. And so, like, all of those things are, like, the opposite of your partner. This guy can keep up with me, and, that's kind of what has you hooked into him at this point.
Yes, exactly. The sex was the best sex I've ever had in my life. And he introduced me to his family, and he was genuinely caring. And I did feel like the connection was like nothing I had ever felt before. I just, at that point, if he had asked me to marry him, I would have said yes. Like, I was so blinded. This was only this was only like the first 3 months of officially dating. I go to celebrate my birthday to my hometown, and I had already planned it with a couple girlfriends, so he's not invited. And I remember I had fun in my birthday, but I wanted to be with him, so I come back and he has flowers. After my birthday, I come back home, and he leaves his Apple Watch in my house, and that's it, right? But I get curious, and I check his messages on his Apple Watch, and he had a conversation with someone, like, "Oh, are you home? Hey, baby, blah, blah, blah." Like, so he slept with someone, or he claims he didn't sleep or did whatever he did on my birthday. Like, when I checked the date, it was my birthday, and he had slept with this person. So he cheated on me. So we break up. And I think what broke my heart was that I was so in love with him. We were so connected that I thought, how could he? Like, I thought, I was like the girl he looks up to that is finally committed to him, and it broke my heart. So I break up, and I miss him, and it was so, I'm a smart girl, but I missed him nonstop. This was this was around like beginning of summer, and towards end of summer, a little, like, I guess closer to like October, I need a realtor because I'm moving home, and that was one of the many things that he did. So I called him.
So when you broke up with him, is he trying to reel you back in, or are you right now just trying your best to not contact him and you're able to be apart?
Yeah, he would text me random, like, "How are you doing? I miss you." But he never really tried to get me. He never hoovered me like here. Like, there was no like driven intention to get me back. It was me. It was me who when I called him back because I needed the realtor, I needed him to show me some places. I had, by the way, I don't know if this matters, but after I did the MBA, I had gained a lot of weight just because I had no time to work out. I was, doing all those things. So when he sees me again, I'm very much, I'm skinnier. I look, different, and I can tell you that every workout, I was like, I'm gonna be skinny so that he can like me. I mean, throughout this story, it was his fault, but I was also not in a good place, I think, because who thinks like that? I was obsessed with getting him back, even though he had cheated on me. So I guess after that, after he comes to help me with show me some properties, we kind of start talking again more and more. I want to say prior to this, the texts were very sporadic. Maybe once a week or around there. So after this, we start talking, and there's a hurricane by where I live coming, and my ex-husband by that time had a girlfriend, and he wouldn't, he had his own plan. So I'm by myself with my mom and my son. And I'm trying to figure out what to do, and I'm a little concerned. And he offers to come with me. And And I just felt so protected. And this guy's like a handyman, and he comes with all these things, and we leave where we're at. We leave town, and he's with us. And my son loves him. My son had never met him before. Kind of had heard about him, but my mom is like so thankful that he took over, and he was so protective, and we had to at some point move hotels. Anyway, so I think that was for me the okay. Like, yeah, he cheated on me, but look how much he protects me. I have to mention that he's a big pot smoker, and I am very open to anything that people do, but I personally don't like it, and I like to follow the rules. So in that hotel, I remember he had his own room, but he was smoking, and I was so nervous that he was going to get kicked out because of the smell. He smokes like the oils, so they're not as smelly, and my son wanted to go hang out with him in his room, and I told my mom, I said, Mom, he can't come, my son, because this guy smoked, and I don't want my son to smell that. So after that trip, we were official again, and I guess part two of our dating, this is when the bad gets worse. Like, I don't know if he was punishing me for having broken up with him, or if his true colors just came out, but it was strange. Like shortly after, it was his birthday, and I got him a he always talked of flying. Like, he plays that video game where he flies. Sorry. And I got him one of these discovery flights where you can go with a pilot, and he lets you actually take over like a little plane and fly it. So I got him that, and then there was a famous new restaurant in my town, and I got him a dinner. I got a reservation there, and mind you, I'm successful and I do okay, but I also, I'm a single mom, so this is extravagant for me because, I have bills to pay. I have my son's education to pay. So it was a big effort for me to go kind of beyond for his birthday. And during his dinner, whenever he drank, he got absolutely worse. I don't even know what he started to tell me, that I started to cry. This is after I had gone beyond to make sure he was happy. And I remember being in this fancy restaurant crying. Like, the people next to me must have thought I don't know. We're wondering what was going on and carrying up. And I was like, well, it took a lot of effort for me to find the perfect gift. So I guess part two, I'm already super hooked, but it's already feeling very abnormal. Like, things are happening like that. He would accuse me of, if my son's tennis shoes weren't clean, he'd be like, oh, look at how my son went to a private school. And like I said, yes, I'm successful, but yes, I had big bills to pay. And maybe the tennis shoes, I don't remember if it was that. I completely oversaw that they were used or they were dirty. I don't even remember. But he would be like, oh, look at your son's tennis shoes. They're so dirty. And then I'd go clean them. And then he'd walk into my place. And literally, I lived in a beautiful place next to the water, and I had someone come help me maybe once a week to clean. But I kept it pretty okay. Sometimes, there were dirty dishes because I worked and all of that. But he would come in and, one day he passed his finger in a weird spot. Not even that it's dirty. It's just like a spot where you don't pass your finger by. And he's like, oh, so dirty. So, this is going on, and I'm a strong girl, so by now, part two, I'm feeling it. I'm not, I love him, but and I can't imagine a life without him. But I am looking, I'm actually, looking at these things, these negatives, right? I go out by then I go out with my, some friends that are out of town, and because of his anxiety, he doesn't come. And we were at a place dancing, and I'm drinking, and there's a really nice guy, and so my ex claims that he saw me on a Snapchat from someone, but I think he was following, in retrospect, I think he must have been there, watching me, because I don't believe that story of the Snapchat. So after that, I tell him, you know what? Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't see, but this guy started telling me how beautiful I was, and I miss that, and you always make me feel so ugly and so so old, and I'm sorry, and he broke up with me. But then the next day he told me, well, I guess we have been through a lot, so we're going to go back, but it's going to be hard on me. And oh my God, was it hard. He became like the controlling people you see in the movies. He would track me on my phone. If I stopped I stopped once to get a smoothie, and he's like, where are you? And I'm like, well, I'm getting a smoothie. And he's like, well, why did it show like you were there? There was like a motel nearby. And he would be like, well, I'm sure, because there's a motel nearby. And then I think I responded something like, well, no, no, I would not be at a motel. And then he would say, oh, that's right, because you're a gold digger. I couldn't accuse you of being in a motel. You would be in a rich. So, oh my God, I cannot explain to you the controlling. This part was so horrible, but I'm hooked. I love him, but I know he's not good for me. But I love him, but I can't live without him. We were at a restaurant, and he was accusing me of looking at the bartender. And I was like, no, I don't no, I'm not looking at him. I'm just staring into you stare at sometimes. And he started to accuse me of looking at this bartender. And I said, I don't like him. And again, he'd be like, oh, of course, because you're a gold digger, so you wouldn't like a bartender. I'm like, no, I just don't like the guy. No. So that day, he wanted to get cocaine. And I am, like I said, I like to do things well, the right way. I like to follow the law. So I was like, I cannot be part of this. I have a son. I cannot be with you when there's cocaine in a car. Beyond me. And on the way back was the first grade. He was screaming at me in the car so bad. I mean, I don't know how he did it. He was speeding. And, I had never seen someone in that situation. I had never seen someone like that. I had never in my entire life had anyone scream at me that way. I'm exhausted by that time with his controlling things. But you think I would, I don't even remember. I don't think he stopped to get cocaine. I think he dropped me home and then went back. And I say this because I'm telling you the story, and it's so beyond me that I'm having these arguments. When I'm so responsible, and when I have a kid, and it's just.
So at this point of your relationship, you started out at first in this 2 to 3 year honeymoon period. Nothing's wrong. Then you get into, red flags are showing up. He cheats on you. He still hasn't devalued you in the way that he is now. He was devaluing you, but not in the way it happened now. You got back together with him, and there is an event where he then breaks up with you and you're hooked on him, and now when you want to get back together with him, he's now been able to cheat on you, he's been able to devalue you, he has been able to break up with you and you now wanting to get back with him, and now this type of behavior is occurring. The person you are with is completely different than that guy from the boy toy from the early years. And a thing that he's using against you, obviously there's parts in there that he's said about the cleanliness of things, and I assume that's going to manifest into questioning you as a mom and things like that, of how you take care of things. But he's also questioning you about being a gold digger. And so there's this aspect of you here where, as you told me at the beginning of the story, of like the types of guys that you like. You have this work ethic about yourself. You have these things you like about yourself. So when he's talking to you about being a gold digger, do you take that seriously? Do you say like, well, I do like these types. I like successful men. It's not that I'm a gold digger. I like men who are motivated, who are ambitious. Is there a kernel of truth in there for you where you actually start believing this is what he's saying, which kind of keeps you hooked into, if he isn't going to be successful, that like, I can be with someone that's not on the same path as me and like stay with him and have him eventually take advantage of you. I might be getting ahead of myself with that, but is that kind of the gold digging thing a kernel of truth for you?
So I actually don't get offended with the gold digging accusation because it didn't bother me. It bothered me that he was trying to kind of pushed me down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think throughout, the one thing about my mother is that she always expected the absolute best of me, and I was very good at what I did. But so I have this thing where if I'm not the best, sometimes I feel like a little, like a failure, like a little failure. So he found that point about me. And I'm not, and then I thought to myself, like, no, you were, top 10 of your, of your team when you were young. I didn't go to the Olympics, but I was top 10, so I'm not a loser. But you know what? I think that there's a little part of me that always feels like I can do better. And that's just from how I was raised. So he got to that, and he would, so anyway, I think that's what bothered me, the fact that he was trying to find little ways to bring me down. The cleanliness of my apartment.
He would challenge your what's the best word for it? A perfectionism in a way. He would challenge your goal to be always great, and I guess you grew up in a way where you were doing great things and you were pleasing people while doing that. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So
yes.
now, so now you want to achieve because he's pointing out that you're not achieving. So now you want to do it in reaction. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And he would criticize like the way I dress. I mean, I think I dress pretty well, but I'm also, I'm not a young 20-year-old, so I'm not going to dress like and I'm Latin. So I think he wanted me to dress like a millennial, and I'm not a millennial. Like I like to wear my heels, and I had a corporate job, so I dress different. And he would, criticize the way I dress. He would say, "Oh, well, all your clothes are from the '90s. You don't spend any money on you." And like I said, of course I wanted to spend money on me, but at that point I was also spending a lot of money with him because he would pay for half the things and I would pay for half. But I had this rhythm that I didn't have before, where I was spending more on weekends than I would if I was alone. By the way, he never. This is like 3 years later after we met. So he's 28, 29, and he still has no job. So his family owns real estate, and he took his he lives in a free, like, he doesn't pay rent and where he lives because it's given to him. And then his dad owns another property that he collects rent from, because he claims that, he does help the family in their real estate needs, but if they have a couple apartments, and when the tenant leaves, he paints them, so he does help them. But anyway, in this time he's accusing me of not spending enough money on me, on new clothes, but he doesn't work. He does, he lives off the rent of his family's apartment. But of course, I'm taking it so to heart, and I want to be better. But it just so happens, these little things, I mention them because they add up, and no one's completely, these guys go after smart girls, and I think we sometimes lose our north, but we're still smart girls, and we're still strong. So, these little things are adding up. And although he accuses me of not being a good mother because of whatever reason, there's a possibility for me to take this course that my company's going to pay for in an area that I was kind of weak in, and my boss suggested it. And it was like a once-a-week, 3-hour course at night. And he was so against it. Like, why? You barely spend time with your son. Now you're going to be busier, and you barely give me time. And I stood my ground, and I took the course. And I must say that this course, kind of like pausing the story, is what has kept me financially okay through the pandemic. Subsequently, I lost my job just because the company, they cut my team. But anyway, he fought me not to take this course, accusing me like the bad mother issue. And I said, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to take it. So this was when he was still in his controlling state. And I think one time I lost battery, and I was so scared. Like, I felt like an abused woman. Like, I came out running to charge my phone, and I FaceTimed him because he would always FaceTime me all day, just like to make sure he knew I was there. And he was mad at me. So by here, my friends are like not happy. I have really a good friend of smart women around me, and they were like, this is not normal. Like, so one of them invites me over to dinner right after this episode, and she wants to talk to me and like, hey, what's going on? But this friend changes plans, and she's like, oh, wait, you know what? Let's go to someone else's home. So I'm in the car because my friend changed dinner location. So it's like a weird part of the story. But in that car ride, it's my best friend, her friend, and me in the back. And this guy is like texting me, like, you better, because he's following me, right? So he sees that there's a location change. And he says, you better not be cheating on me. And I'm like, me, silly me at the time. It's like, no, like, I'm not. This girl changed the location. We're going to somewhere else in a restaurant. So this guy FaceTimes me, and he's like, by now he's like a monster. And he starts to tell me like something, I don't even remember the exact words, but he says something like, you better not be cheating on me, you effing. And my face just fell, because all this has been going on in silence with him and me, right? No one, like, people see me acting weird, but they don't know this. And I'm, and I'm usually like a very happy person. Like, no one can understand this. My friend hears this, and she turns around, and she was like, "What?" Like, and the guy next to her is just like quiet, like, "What is this?" And like I said, my group of people are like 9 people, so they have, I don't want to say never seen this, but they're just so surprised, like, what is this? So of course I hang up. I'm crying. I'm so embarrassed. I'm supposed to be out of my friend, like the successful girl who does an MBA, like, like I'm good. I'm like, my friends admire me, right? And this my best friend hears this, and she's like, no, this is not right. What is going on? So I think I sob and I tell her everything. I just diarrhea of the mouth, like, blah, blah, blah. And she tells me, well, I give you 1 week to break this off, or I talk to your parents because you're in an abusive relationship. And particularly, she didn't like the fact that when he started to mess with my career, and she told me, you have a son, and your son, you have a lot of things coming up. And she had been in an abusive relationship, and she divorced her husband. And she's like, I know this, and you do not want to go where I was at. Like, you know this. So I try and break up with him. I don't. And she calls my parents. So my parents fly in like the next day. And I mentioned that my dad, always treated us like princesses, and he cannot conceive someone, treating me that way. And, my friend, when she heard him on the phone, and maybe I'm not describing the call well enough, but he was like, I have never yelled at you. Like, I have never, told you, like, you have never been mistreated. Like what is? My dad was crying. Like, if he cheating me, they thought he was hitting me, which he didn't. But he was so upset that, he couldn't believe it. And I have a lot of respect for my dad, especially that I always, he's old school, but, this guy still to this day, he works so hard, and I felt like I was, what's the word, like, defrauding,
disappointing him?
I just felt disappointing him, and I just felt so bad that I was putting them through this. So, they basically told me something like, you can't, like, we don't want you to be with him, and that was it. So I do break up with my ex narc. I do get embarrassed that my dad has to see this. I do see the real situation. I do see how bad he is for me. I must say that at work, I was working. I had a very high-profile job, but I wasn't giving it my 100. Why? Because, this guy didn't do anything. So as soon as 5 p.m. hit, he was calling me, like, when I didn't have my son, like, what are we going to do? Can you leave? Like, you're a slave for being at the office forever. So I'm a very hard worker, but I was giving that job maybe like 60% because my head wasn't there. My head was dealing with this guy making me cry one night or not, or this or that. So, so when my dad comes, and my family, I break up with him. And I'm in a good place. I start to see a therapist. I have to say that your body, if you don't want to realize how bad you are, like, listen to your body. I was feeling so sick, and I had gained like 20 pounds. Just, who knows? Just my body was just gaining and gaining weight. So we break up, and automatically, like, I start to get back into myself. I start to exercise. I start to lose weight. I'm good. I'm good. And you think it's over. Like, that's it. But I don't know how. I start to talk again with him months later. And everything starts again. I mean, I would like to say that it's different, but like the same kind of stories and the devaluation and blah, blah. And by this time, he has a best friend, or so he claims. And then the triangulation starts, and I get like obsessively trying to get him win him over this girl. But
just to clarify here, you get back together with him. He has a female friend that is most likely another girlfriend, and you are now vying for his attention. Do you and this other woman interact with each other, or you don't see her at all?
When we were dating, this girl would appear sometimes, and she would she came with us to watch like a soccer game one time. So I truly thought they were friends. So he's hanging out with this girl a lot, and sometimes with me, and he would always tell me, "But we're just friends. But we're just friends, and don't think more." So I'm seeing him in secret because I don't want my parents to know. We're actually traveling nearby to go some places. My parents don't know, and I feel horrible. I feel, and this is when you need to understand that it's like a drug, because I felt like a crack addict. Like, I knew he was bad. I knew he wasn't good for me. I knew he made me feel bad, but I could not be with him. And I could not imagine a life without him. So this goes on for a while. We have some, kind of like a little bit of everything around the same, except by then he had bought a boat. And in one of those boat days, he does cocaine in front of me. So if you can hear the story, it's like we're on the boat, and I check his phone messages, and he's talking to a guy, and it's like sexual innuendo, and I'm like, and he sees me looking, so he gets extremely mad. He actually, by that time he was drunk, and he has the boat on a trailer. So when we leave, he's like, "I can't drive. You have to drive." And I'm like, I've never driven a boat with a trailer. Like, I can drive, but it's night. It was like super scary. And as I'm driving, he's still so mad that I saw his messages. But I'm still not clear. Like, the messages said things, but not with this guy. but I think he thinks I know I discovered him, but I don't know. I'm so naive. Like, I'm still like, what is this? And so we're driving. I'm driving this boat, this truck with the boat, and he starts to hit me with. He's eating like Kentucky Fried Chicken, and he starts to hit me with the chicken in my forehead, and like. It was so demeaning to me, and I don't know why. It was just like, I'm driving, I'm nervous, I don't know what I'm doing, and this guy's hitting me with this chicken, and I, like, get the box of chicken from the bottom, and I, like, push it so that all the chicken hits his face. And I'm telling you this because it escalates, right? I have never done that. I'm not an aggressive person. But when he, this whole situation, I'm like, what is this? Like, so shortly after, in another boat ride, he always did these little things, like these extreme things, when we had something the next day. Like something I couldn't cancel. Like, I think the next day after that, we went on a cruise. We were going on a cruise all paid for. So it was like he knew, like, I wasn't going to break up with him because we had something already planned. It was always lots of situations were like this. So in the cruise, again, I check his messages, and again, it's like something like a weird conversation, more sexual, and shortly after is when he tells me that he's bisexual. And I really continue the like, it matters, but it doesn't matter because I'm very open. Like, okay, but you're with me, so it doesn't really matter. By this point, by this point, I'm so hopeful. Like, everything doesn't matter as long as I'm with him because I can't leave him. And I think somewhere along that time, I lose my job. Not just me, but my whole team. The company makes cuts in a bunch of layoffs, and I come out. And I have to say that I'm so focused on him. And on spending my, like this trip, it was like a cruise. I'm paying half of it for me and my, I'm paying my part, my son. So I'm overspending, and by then I don't have a job, and I'm like a drug addict, just focused on him. My career, I put to the side, blame him, blame me. My career's like, I'm doing little steps to get a job again. I'm taking a break, whatever. And I'm depleting, but I don't know if I can explain to you. I'm depleting by the thousands. I'm depleting because I'm paying, obviously, my all the expenses that I have, and there's no income coming in. And I'm out, it doesn't matter because I'm in love with him. By then, I think I tell my parents, like, I'm sorry, I'm back with him. And my parents are devastated. And I want to have a family with him and marry him, and I can't explain it to you. I am like a shell of something. And in one of these trips that we took, we were actually with my son, with a lot of my son's friends and family, like their parents, in Orlando. So it's like a really family weekend. And I look at his videos of his iPad, and I see a video. And, I see it was like in his trash, and it was hundreds. I must say he always had, and I didn't say this at the beginning, he was always chatting with someone, always. Like, every time I would check, and he was, like, infected in chats, but in his mind it wasn't cheating. It was like he's just talking. And me, I'm starting to accept these things. things as normal. And he's convinced me that, sometimes when he's bored, but it's just chat. So I go into his iPad, and it was like the hell of pictures. Like naked girls and naked this and like pictures. It seems like pictures that people had sent him or women. But then there was one of a video of him giving fellatio to a man or to a man with a penis, and I don't know how to describe this. He was so happy, and this had just happened because it had a date. And here I am in Orlando with all these families, like looking at this, and I think I would have had the same impression if it was with a woman. But I had no words. I just froze, and one of the things that went through my head was like I have never seen him that happy with me. Like he is completely happy, and I am a nice person, and he deserves to be with whomever makes him happy. Like, I'm so, all these things are going through my head, right? Like, oh my God, he cheated on me, but then I want him to be happy, but then I can't judge him because he has a sexual preference, but then I want him, all in like 1 minute. So what happens after that is that I become numb. I'm still with him, but I can't, I just couldn't have sex with him. I was just so scared that he would have sex with whomever, man, woman, without protection, and that I would get something, that I would get like HIV or, and I'm not saying this because of it's a man, because I saw him with a bunch of women, and he doesn't like to use a condom. So in my head, women or men, I'm like, this guy doesn't like to use a condom. Therefore, 1 times 50 times who knows how much time, I don't know what he's doing now. I have zero trust. There's one thing I thought he was chatting. There's another where I don't know if this guy's having sex every time I go to sleep. So I can't have sex with him after that. I'm still with him because I'm so attached. His family's like a lovely family. At some point, I think I'm working. His family had an office, an empty office, and they let me use it. So I was using his office. I'm so attached in every possible way that I continue going through the notions, but I can't sleep with him. And of course, I must say that whole sex part of the beginning was dying off. So towards the end, the sex was okay, but it was not as much. But he notices it, and I'm like, I can't. He would and I couldn't tell him that I saw these videos because I think I was trying to, I was working on my exit strategy because I'm like, I don't want him to think it's because he's gay, because really it's not the reason. It's the trust issue. So I'm building so for weeks or a month maybe.
It's interesting that your thought process is you don't want to leave based upon him thinking that you're judging him for being gay, when the thought process in your mind of, my partner is cheating on me, I'm being abused, and things about yourself aren't even in your thought process. You're still thinking about his feelings during that little period. And I guess a question that I have for you, as far as leaving goes, is part of, you here, you're these things are going on, things are stretching out longer. Are you feeling embarrassed if you have to leave again and kind of want to stick it out a little bit longer? Is that going on at all?
No.
Okay.
I am like a drug addict.
Okay.
I start listening to your podcast. I start becoming a doctor in prior to this episode too, though. I start listening to to narcissists, reading about narcissism, and he hits all the check marks. So I'm like trained, like I'm empowered. Actually, funny story, one day I'm listening to your podcast and I get to the office and he hears it and it's like the narcissist apocalypse. And he's like, I'm a narcissist? And I'm like, yes. And he is so upset that, I accuse him of being a narcissist. So, but anyway, I have been training myself through information for a long time. So I am like secretly in my head planning my exit strategy. And I keep saying to myself, if next time he does it, I'm leaving. But it's like a drug. You can't do it on your own. It's like I had all the intention, I really did. So after like, for example, after the cruise, I'm like, in the cruise, actually, I forgot to say, was the first time that he didn't hit me, but he grabbed my arm really tight because I forget, he was fighting with me because, I don't know, whatever reason. So after the cruise, I'm like, I'm leaving. And then I didn't. And then after the video, I'm leaving. And then I didn't, right? So it's like, I really want to, but I can't. But then he's, financially, I'm starting to feel that I'm scared because now I have no job. I don't have any prospects. I'm like I'm in a weird spot. At some point, I sell my car. By then, I guess I'm fast forwarding it to the pandemic. So it's a pandemic. I'm not using my car a lot. I need cash, and I sell my car. So he's loaning me. He has like 3 cars. So he's loaning me one of his cars. So when I say I'm attached, it's not only like there's not like I don't know there's love. Like I still see him and I still find him attractive even to this day. It's crazy, but I think my head was stronger, right, than my heart, and I'm like, I'm leaving, but then he's loaning me his car. I'm leaving, but then, so I slowly, I stopped going to the office thanks to the pandemic. At some point, I, gave him his car back so he could steal it. So the last 6 months of our relationship, I was, pulling back. There was barely any sex. I don't even, in my head, I'm like, well, I'm sure he's getting his sex somewhere with all his options that he always has. But he gets an RV, and he then starts to travel to the national park and just hang out, and he wants me to come, and I can't really because I work and it's I need to concentrate. But so one of the things that really saved me, and I keep referring to drug addiction because I know that. It's you need to use different techniques. And one of the things that really helped me in not continuing this was that my sister would FaceTime me every single day. Every single day, she has a baby, and with the excuse of showing me the baby. So I could not really travel with him because I had to answer the FaceTime. So I would go visit him sometimes in his RV somewhere near, 2 or 3 hours away and drive back because I knew my sister was going to FaceTime me. It was so stressful. And this is after the video. This is after I'm planning whatever, my exit strategy. It's like a drug. He, even in this national park, it's fun. It's fun. That's the reason I fell in love with him. He's a fun person. He has a boat there, and he has RV and in the nature. And I take my son twice maybe to the RV. My son loves it. By then, I had started to tell my son hey, in this time we're not really together. We haven't really broken up, but I'm pulling away. So I start to tell my son hey, things are not working out. Because my son was attached to him too. And I think that the last straw to this was that he wanted me to go more and more with him to the RV life, and my work whenever I was there was diminished because I'm on a beautiful place with a boat and I want to enjoy it, but then I have to work, so I'm starting to work less and less, and I think that was like my last.
So to explain, I guess, would be to keep up the pace of what he wanted and the lifestyle he was leading and being there for him. Everything else, especially your work, which you took extreme pride in. You took extreme pride in him being independent, took extreme pride in making your own money, making a good living. All of a sudden, not all of a sudden, over this amount of time, that's all gone. You're not working like you used to. You're not making the money that you used to. All of a sudden, you're draining your bank accounts. You're draining savings. You're not able to concentrate on the thing that you identified with most and gave you the most pride in your life up until meeting this person. And emotionally and in your soul, that is hurting you, not just in the bank account, but as a person and who you are. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah. Completely. And I'm pulling away, and he's bringing me back. So, he doesn't want to be left. He knows I'm leaving. At this point, two things happened. I got a therapist. I really had no money to go see my old therapist because he was very expensive. So I got myself a therapist from my home country, which was more affordable, online. So that's going on. So now I have like this weekly strength with like who I can tell everything, right? Because I can't tell this to my friends anymore. I'm like alone in my own misery / love, terroristic place, novella. So this therapist was like my angel because he's very non-judgmental, and I would say like, okay, I'm gonna talk to him Monday, and then I would be like, no, I went, and I actually, it was like a honeymoon, and I went and I had sex with him on the water, and I was like so irresponsible, and I hate myself. And she would be like, no, we're working on it. It's you're not, it's the process. So he was so not judgmental that I could really be led, right? Because I think some of us start to lie to the therapist sometimes, I don't know, out of embarrassment. So that's going on, which is great. What's going on is that I'm starting to feel the financial, strain. And I'm an adult. So I'm like, that's another power thing that I have going on my benefit, that I'm like, no, I need to bring back my career. I'm doing the minimum, or at least some, but he can't mess with my career. Like, you can't mess with my son, and you can't mess with my career, because, that's when I kind of come back to myself. So in one of these trips, I need to come back, and he's mad because you could work from the RV. Why do you have to go? And I always have to come back because of the FaceTime. And it sounds silly because I am past 40, but I have a lot of respect for my family. So I did not want to, disrespect them after, I guess, I'm sorry. There was one last thing that when my parents told me, the reason I'm hiding this more and more was because he got into an argument with someone in my building, and there was video of him where he was very aggressive, and they showed, I live in a condo for the same condo for the past 20 years. So they know my family and my mom, and whenever they come to visit. So someone showed the video to my mom, and my mom told me, I know you love him, but this is an aggressive guy, and I don't want him around my grandson. So if you go back with him, two things are going to happen. I'm going to tell your son's dad that you're with an aggressive man, and I'm going to show him the video. And second thing is that at that point, I can't even afford to pay my mortgage, or not all of it at least. So my parents are helping me. And my mom says, if you go back with him, then you go back with him. And you live with him, but you can't live in the place. Like, I won't no longer support you financially. So I'm very scared, right? Because, like, I am, like, hitting the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. And I have to hide. That's why I go back running for the FaceTimes with my sister, because I don't want my parents to, not kick me out. And it's so childish, because I've been an independent woman since I'm 23, and I can't blame him, but I blame, I'm responsible for me, but how did I let this happen to where I can't afford my mortgage every month because I'm making enough money to pay for all the other things, but not enough for everything? So when I tell him, like, I gotta go back, I'm driving back from the national park, and he breaks my computer. He slams my computer because he's so mad that I work so much. And I just, like, this is, like, almost the end, but the fact that that's, like, the one thing I have left, right? That's where I do all of my work in my computer. I have no money to buy another computer at this point, like, spent through $3,500. And then he cries like a little baby, like, I'm sorry, but I just, after that, I walk out and I'm like, I don't care, I will figure it out, but this is it. I'm like, Fatima, this is it. Like, this guy is either gonna kill you, or he doesn't care about you, but he broke your computer. It was so meaningful to me. Like, that's one of the last things I have of me. We break up. I think we really, truly break up until he starts to ask me for favors, because he's done so much for me, right? He loaned me his car. At some point, if a client didn't pay me at the end of the month, I was like maybe 2 days, 3 days where I had like no money. So he would like pay for more stuff. Or one time he paid for my groceries. So of course I owed him in my head. And he would ask me like, oh, I need to go to leave my car and I have no one to take me. Or he would put me in situations where I had to, even though we were broken up, I had to help him. And, but I was standing my ground, like, I'm not going back. I am not, like, this is not, like, there's no fantasy anymore for me. I took advantage of my exit, and I'm like, I'm done with the computer. I'm done. But then I slowly, here and there, I would go maybe twice. I go visit him, and then Thanksgiving came, and he was alone, and I felt so bad, and like I went to, I think I visited him the night, I went to visit him for Thanksgiving. No sex, just, in my head, imaginary me is this friendship. But Thanksgiving, he takes me to a bar that is like naked people, and it's okay, whatever you want, but I don't like those places. And it's Thanksgiving, and it's so like, ew, like, I'm not even with this guy, and I'm an older adult now, and I'm like on a naked bar on Thanksgiving, and he starts flirting with the bartender, and I'm like, oh, like, please go ahead. Like, at that point, I don't care. Like, I'm like, I think, like, he wants to make me jealous, and I'm like, that would be great for you. You should be with someone who's open-minded and, wants to. He was also, I never did it with him, but he also loved the whole threesome deal, and so I was like, oh, like, be happy, find a girl that will do all that stuff with you. Like, don't convert me. Like, yeah. So that last trip, Thanksgiving trip, was like, I don't know why. I had nothing to do with him, but I was still there after he broke my computer. And then he decided he was going to go live in a different state, like 10 hours away from where we are. No, more, like across the country. And he wanted me to help him move the RV. And because he's done all the things he's done for me, I had to help him, because if not, he had to go alone. And I said no. Like, I'm not. I can't. I won't. No. And I knew this was got to be the catalyst to the narcissistic last raid, where they do that whole crazy reaction. I knew it. I talked it with my therapist, and I said, I hope this guy never feels me doing anything sexual, because this is the time where he's going to do it, like the stories I hear. Like, this is where he's going to email my because I knew he was so offended that I was not going to help him, and he's traveled around the country. And indeed, the last night before he was leaving on his trip, I think I was at dinner, and I got there, and he was drunk. And I had printed like a little picture of him, of like the town where we live in. I'm like, oh, here, for you to take in your RV when you go, to remind you of the town. And he's like, not even a picture of us. And I remember like almost smiling, like no, like we're not together, like no. And he went into a weird rage. Like, he's always gotten into weird rages, but this was beyond normal, where he hit the wall, and I think he bled, and I thought, this is where he's gonna hit me. Like, this is the time when he lost it. Like, he was, the word is like, he was like disengaged from his crazy self. And I told him, I'm gonna leave because you're scaring me. And I don't remember much, because I think I blacked it out. He didn't hit me. I was extremely scared. He has gone from it. So I think that I've seen so many stories that I thought, this is when people lose it. Like, he's gonna come and shoot me. Like, I had that weird, I've never had that feeling, but I thought, like I went too far. Like, it's my fault. I should have stopped it. Like, after the video, like, there were so many instances where I stopped it, because this guy's not mentally well. And I remember shaking, like, going home and shaking and calling, like, a friend, and saying, like, it was late, like 11:30, like, can you please come to get me, because I'm like incapable of driving, and I'm scared, and I didn't tell her any details, but I'm scared this guy's gonna come or hurt me. And the good side of him is he's so nice, he's so helpful, and my son, like, he still loves doing out with him. He's a good person when he's good, but when he's bad, he's super bad. Like it's an angel and a devil. Like, there's no in between. He told me, I was looking at a picture of you. You're so fat. I had gained weight again. Like I say, listen to your body, because I had gained in this last time that I was with him. I gained another 20, 30 pounds. Like, I was at the heaviest at that point. I'm gonna tell you, when I had my son, 9 months in my belly, I was 10 pounds heavier than that. It was like I was like so big, and it doesn't matter the weight. It was just like, that's not who I am. Like, I'm a healthy person who likes to exercise. Well, my body was not reflecting that. So he tells me this, like, trying to hurt me for the last time. Like, and you're so fat and you look so old. And I just, at that point, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just like, I need to flee for my life. I go home and he starts texting he knew that, I didn't want, he knew that I was gonna, that what my parents had told me, right? That if I went back with him, they would ask me to leave. They weren't gonna help me with my payment. So he starts to send pictures to my family of us in the national park and Thanksgiving, and telling them like, oh, when was the last time you saw her smiling? And videos of me and my son, different places. And I think that, that was her fault because, it's like I was embarrassed, but I thought he was going to start sending more stuff, sexual stuff. I don't know what. So I called my parents, like, please block him. I'm scared. I don't know what he has. He's very techie, so I'm like, I don't know what he has. And then he sends my sister. He makes a WhatsApp chat that says fake, FACE. So he creates this group with my sister on the WhatsApp and doesn't say anything, just creates it. So then my sister calls me. She's scared. Like, what does he mean by fate? Is he going to come hurt me? Like, what is this? So there was all this commotion at the end with my family. Again, we've never had this kind of drama. No one in my family that I know of has been in an abusive relationship. No one, this is all so, different to us. So I'm like at a friend's place, and I call his father, and his family is a beautiful family, but they're like enablers 1,000%. And I tell him, listen, I have never. They know him. They know he has these outbursts. He fought with his brother, with the brother's wife, done shows, different screaming shows at different places. He doesn't talk to his brother. He doesn't talk to his friends. He has no friends. Another narcissistic thing. So they're not. I'm not calling to tell them that something new, but I do tell them that we just fought, and that I'm scared that I had never seen him so like unhinged, and I need him to go over to his place and make sure that he doesn't do anything stupid, that my sister feels threatened, and the dad, listens to me, or I don't know what happens then, but it got to a point where that's the end, and there was no other end than this. I mean, it's if you hear your stories, it's never like a happy ending, and I think that I'm thankful that nothing happened. Thank God. Hopefully, nothing will happen. I trust that once he went to sleep and stopped drinking, that the next day he's a normal person again. But and I had to tell this story because I wish I would have stopped it before. I got lucky, but what if he was truly unhinged, and what if he was gonna hurt me? Why? Why let it go to that point?
So now that you are out of it, it's been since, I think, October, correct? November?
November, yeah.
November. And you did a lot of research before on this subject matter. So how are you doing right now as far as your trauma bond goes? Do you miss him? And what are you and your therapist working on?
So there's been a lot of self-discovery, learning about myself and what happened. I think I feel like I know everything about him, and not like the narcissistic problem, and not problem. I'm sorry. So I started to really start to work on me, and I think that my therapist was actually happy because she's like, oh, this is wonderful. I get to hear about you and not him. So a lot of like, why did I date him? Like, why did I make the decisions that I make? And that's not to be critical of me. It's to understand me, to avoid in the future. So where am I now? Myself, my spirit, like, how is it that, how is it that I can get to a point where I don't recognize myself? Because I did it in my first marriage. Obviously, my ex-husband, my own marriage, wasn't bad, but I also lost myself. It was like I become someone who wants to make the other person happy, and in the process, I lose myself. So you
become codependent in the relationship.
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay. So you're working on the codependency aspect in how what triggers make you fall into the codependency.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So with that being said, like, so after you guys discover that, like, how are you doing now? And what is your kind of outlook going forward?
So back to me, I started to exercise again. I joined a beginner's triathlon club that it's wonderful because it keeps me healthy, but I also, it's something new I've never done. There's a brand new group of people that I get to meet. They're mostly all like, everyone's kind of healthy and they're outgoing. So that's kept me positive. I have bad days. I have days where I still miss him. And actually, when I miss him, I put one of your podcasts, like my therapy. I listen to a lot of positive podcasts just about entrepreneurs, anyone doing like positive things. I've started meditating, which has truthfully, it has helped me so much. There's an app called the Chopra app, and it's really good. So I do that every single day. I feel like I'm like a sick person that needs to do all these little things in order to continue in the right path.
No, listen, you're an addict. And you have to keep busy. And sometimes you have to go to meetings. And meetings for you is listen to the show. Sometimes you have to call your sponsor. And sometimes, if you're looking to have a drink or you're going to do drugs, what the addicts do, instead of doing that, you have to get a hobby. And sometimes the hobbies are the best things to do is to exercise and to feel strong in your mind and in your body. And you're doing that. And, those are when you were severely addicted and you have to do anything to keep busy and make yourself stronger and feel stronger. So eventually as that addiction, goes away little by little by little, you filled your time up here with positive things and things that are moving you forward. And it sounds like that is kind of the road that you're taking here, because weaning yourself off of addiction, or not weaning yourself, going cold turkey is very difficult to do, and sounds like you're trying as hard as you can to do all of those little things. And a lot of things I like to say one thing people miss when it comes to addiction and recovery is eventually people start to do service work. And is that something that you're looking that you kind of look to do, or maybe in the future, as far as helping people who are, maybe in the same predicament as you?
Yes, and I think this is the reason I wanted to speak to you. And I do feel that I am much more understanding. I have become less and less judgmental to situations in general. My friends, by the grace of God, are still, they're good friends. My best friend, when she found out I had gone back to him, was like so hurt. But I have good friends, and I am slowly building everyone's trust. It's a funny feeling. Again, I'm past 40, and I feel like a child, like rebuilding trust with my family and with them. It's part of the process.
How about the trust in yourself?
Also, I'm coming back to me, and the whole disassociation that happened. I had it really bad, where it was like, I remember trying to make a business deal, and I was like, my self-esteem was so low. I was like, who is this person trying to make this business deal? Because this guy had really pushed me down mentally. I kind of thought to be up, but not really. So I would be sitting down with friends, and I would not feel like part of the group. So I keep saying I'm coming back to myself. It's like my spirit's coming back. It's been a slow process, but I am the analogy I use is like a little, how they put the face mask on the horses on the races. That's literally like what I do. It's like I am going to the right path, and I'm like a little horse walking forward, and I'm rebuilding with the relationship with my son, because it was never broken, but I think I was so focused on this guy that these past 2-3 years, if I fought with this guy, then I was, in a bad mood with my son, and everything was about spending time, with my son, but also with him. So, it's like I have so much work to do. I applied for a job. I did the fourth interview Friday. So everything looks like I'm going to get it. If I get this job, it puts me back to not where I was, but close. So it's like I feel my life coming back. Sometimes I'm so, I'm such a go-getter. I want this to be over. It's it's done. Let's go, get back with it. And I want my money back, and I want my, when I say money, my financial stability in my career, and I want everyone's trust back. And it doesn't happen like that, right? Because some days, I'm on fire for 2 weeks, and then one day I'm just depressed, and I'm, I have tricks I'm depressed or sad, I'm gonna go for a run. But it's so exhausting. It's I wish I could have a little switch, right, where everything comes back, but it doesn't. So it's just being kind to myself. Everyone around my family is really strong and I'm like a go-getter, and I need to be kind to myself. So that's it. That's where I'm at.
Well, I just want to tell you that, you are a strong person. You've made it through here. You made through a lot that a lot of people might not have been able to get through, and you are here. And I think everyone in this community who is listening to you right now knows that you're going to make it, that you're going to get back to where you need to be, where you want to be, where you deserve to be. And, we're proud of you for being here, and we're proud of you for being really vulnerable with us here today and letting it all out for everyone to hear. And I know you're going to help a lot of people by just being you and being honest. And, so I just want you to know that. And you did good. And, even of this disaster, you're going to come out stronger and you're going to be better. And in the process, you're going to help other people too. And there's something to be said for that. So from the bottom of my heart, Fatema, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you listening. And I hope that lots of people get identified with the story. You can get out sooner than I did.
Well, thank you so much. And for everyone else out there who is listening, I hope you have a good night.